everybody, and welcome to the Rec Poker Podcast. You're used to hearing Steve Fredland at the top of these chats editions, but he's slaving away in the salt mines at Rec.Poker and can't join us tonight. So I'm joined by Chris Jones and John Somsky. Chris and John, why don't you tell the group where they can meet you?
I'm Chris Jones. You can find me 5x5 on PokerStars and Twitter.
And I am John Somsky. You can find me as Poker Geek MN everywhere.
And I'm Jim Reed, Bluffsterini in the home game, and Hold'em_Steelers on Twitter. And I would like to thank our sponsors, website AMP and Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. So like we do up at the top, we're just going to mention a couple quick things that are coming up. I'm so excited about the newest addition to our Wrecking Crew, Kim Kilroy. And if anyone else has more interest in the Wrecking Crew or wants to learn more about Kim or other members like ourselves here, you can go to rec.poker/resources/meet the Wrecking Crew, or you can just go to rec.poker/Jim. And there's a link up at the top there that'll link to all the other Wrecking Crew pages. So go and check that out. It's full of people like Kim and John and Chris and I that want to work with other people and spread our love of poker as far and wide as we possibly can. And
Yeah,
we're
and
also,
Kim
yes,
had some. She was on doing the commentary with you for the Marek Madness, and that was kind of when we unveiled her as a new member of the Wrecking Crew, and she had some really, I think, fantastic ideas for things that she wants to do. And so you should definitely check out her page and kind of learn a bit more about what she's thinking and what she's all about.
yeah, I
Yeah, and
completely, yeah.
well, unlike me, she is a member of the Wrecking Crew that actually knows what she's doing. So be sure to take advantage of her expertise.
That's right. Yeah, I know Kim's got some great plans for a travel group, some hand history reviews, some power hours focusing on how to make the game more friendly for women, and a lot of other great stuff. I can't wait to see how she's going to get more involved. And also, the book study is back. Rob Washington's been doing Michael Acevedo's A Modern Poker Theory. Man, Steve makes this look so easy, but it's actually harder. It's harder than Steve makes it look. This is hard. And we're getting together on April 7th, which will be the first real section. So if you want to join us for that, you might be able to win a copy on Twitter. Check out the Twitter page. And otherwise, join us on April 7th. All premium members can join free to take a look through the Modern Poker Bible. Doing great. So sometimes on these chats editions, we have a famous poker pro or celebrity to come in. And this week's no exception. We've invited the content membership. Oh, I'm on a roll, everybody. We have invited the membership content director from Rec.Poker to come and join us on the show. He's a guy named Chris Jones. You're very familiar with him. He slaves away behind the scenes every month, leading our seminars, guiding our focus, and really just he's the one steering the ship of everything that comes to do with strategy and content here at Rec.Poker. So Chris Jones, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So it's a new experience for me, but thanks for the kind words.
So
Do we need to ask? Isn't it obligated? I mean, I think there's a legal requirement that someone has to ask the question. So, what's new about you? Tell us what makes you tick, Chris Jones.
That's right. Yeah, what's been going on in Memberland, Chris Jones? What's new and exciting with you?
Well, the newest thing, in terms of like what we're talking about tonight is, we're talking about, some of our seminars, and we're talking about the most recent one we did was the betting patterns one. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed about these is we've kind of shifted some of our approach in terms of the content away from some of the pre-flop stuff, raise first in, three betting, some of those kinds of things, and really started to think about some of the post-flop opportunities and chances that we have as players. And I think it's the area where I certainly can grow the most. I think it's the area where a lot of rec players can grow them. I mean, we can all grow pre-flop as well, but I think post-flop is the one where we can really start to set ourselves apart, learn new approaches to hands. And so this was a really interesting conversation. And one of the things that I think is sort of lacking sometimes is or lacking in an understanding is the idea that really poker is a game of pattern recognition. And so if we can start to understand betting patterns, we have a really good, and we can combine that with looking at flop texture and board texture. We have a really good opportunity to start to have some advantages and edges over our opponents, even pretty good ones. So that it was a really great conversation, and I thought we kind of examined both common and uncommon betting lines. And if you've never thought about what that even means, I encourage you to either think about it a bit more, look it up, or come watch our seminar, because it was I thought a good conversation.
Yeah, I think it was like we do every, we sort of typically break the seminar down into 3 sections. We have, in this case, it was common lines, uncommon lines, and then examples. And we often, you often include that examples section at the end, which I think is a great way to break it down into sort of the theory and the practice and seeing it laid out. And I think in this one, what was really helpful was when we went through a lot of the lines that you were describing, it was clear that there are several of those lines that were kind of hardwired to read as strength, or
Mhm.
or hardwired to read as weak ranges. It was very interesting to me to see how many of those. It really doesn't matter what's in your hand. When you take a certain line, that line means strength,
Yeah.
and yeah.
And when we started to look at the examples, so like what we first did was we looked at the very theoretical, just what does a betting line look like, right? And we looked at it with absent of any hole cards, any board texture. It was just kind of like, okay, you know, the in position player bets the flop, checks the turn, bets the river. What does that typically mean for us? Um, but the really interesting thing is then we took those betting lines and we tried to apply them to various board textures. And some of them didn't make any, I mean, they barely made any sense because we couldn't quite imagine this kinds of approach on this kind of board. And that's the kind of thing that uh, can be really helpful if you start to sort of have that kind of understanding.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting the way everything feeds into everything's all intertwined. And if you make uh, a change in assumptions in one spot, like pre-flop, it's going to dramatically change what happens post-flop or in these other situations. It's kind of like the poker butterfly effect.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And like when we looked at I think the most one of the we tried to look at really like not just c bets, right? We tried to look at betting lines that extend beyond the flop. But when you start to look at those kinds of an example of this, to kind of give you, to ground this a little in terms of the conversation of things that we looked at, was you'd get to a flop, you'd have the out of we pretty much strictly dealt with heads up play. We didn't do much multi-way. But then we look at the out of position player checks. Let's just say we have like a hijack open and a big blind defend. So the big blind checks, the hijack decides to c bet the flop small, and it gets called, and then we get to a turn, and the big blind checks again, and now the in position player bets large. Like, and so they've gone from a sort of a third pot to maybe a 2/3 pot, or maybe even a 3/4 pot size bet. And what we did was we looked at all of these. That's the kind of thing we looked at, and we looked at what does this mean, and what kinds of hands is the imposition player showing up here with, and what kinds of you know spots and is the big blind showing up with here, and what does it mean when we're looking, then what can we start to look at when we look at the board texture and combine that with the betting pattern and start to evaluate and look at what our approach might be in some of these spots. And that's really, I think, the value in really starting to know and understand some of these really common betting lines.
Yeah, Chris, I really feel like you've added layer upon layer with these seminars over the last year and a bit, and you know, it's kind of an evolution of strategy. So there's really no point studying betting lines until you've thought a lot about ranges and flop textures and board textures, because you just don't have you don't have access to you're not thinking about the right factors yet, when it comes to what does this line mean, what does this line reveal. But you know, poker, you've said this before a lot. You know, poker is about finding, puzzle solving, pattern seeking, um, and it's a game of incomplete information. So it's about making better assumptions. And so when you start by putting your opponent on accurate ranges, and then you understand how those ranges interact with different board textures, you can then analyze the betting lines to decide if they make sense or not, or if they are telling you, what are they telling you? So it's these three things act together to give you a better assumption about what your opponent's range is at the end of that calculation, right? So all poker, all we can do to make anyone better at poker is make them better at narrowing down their opponent's range so that they can make a better decision in that moment. So I was really impressed at how you've layered this on and how we can use the different topics of the seminars up until now to keep getting more and more sophisticated in our approach to poker.
Yeah, and I mean that's sort of the hope and the goal with this is that we can sort of to layer this on. And like so, and then the next month, you know, in April we're talking about turns and rivers. So it's really about, okay, the later you go into into streets and poker, assuming you're deep enough to play, you know, late street poker, um, the more more decisions there are, the harder the game tree gets, and the more costly your mistakes become. So we want to master sort of early street poker, but if you really want to have an edge on your opponents, and you're not short stacked, really, that was a really good point, because I even got the music underlined for it. But if you're not short stacked, it's a really good way to start to develop certain edges against opponents it becomes really valuable over time. So
Yeah.
it was a fun conversation. And then we took those betting lines and we basically took them and we started looking at two very different kinds of boards. One, a very dynamic board that had all kinds of straights and flushes and everything on it, and one that was a little sort of more marginal. And we looked at all the betting lines that we talked about in the common and uncommon sections, and talked about what does it mean when a player does those kinds of approaches on, you know, what does it mean when they bet small and then bet big on a really draw heavy board? When we've got, I mean, I think the board we were using was a Jack 10 9 7. The turn card was a 7. So, and it was a double flush board, so there was two clubs and two diamonds. So what does it mean when our opponent bets small on a Jack 10 9 board and then bets big on on that turn card versus a board that's not as well connected? And those are the kinds of things that we talk through in the examples section. And I think it's really valuable to think about.
Yeah, and I think it's one thing we talk often about. The later streets of hands, those situations don't come up as often. The later you get into a hand, the less often you're going to be in that situation. But those are always the spots where the pots are bigger, and so where the decisions are more expensive, the errors are more expensive, the bets are going to be bigger. You're more likely to put most of your stack in on a later street. So even though it doesn't come up as often, it's an area you really don't want to be unsteadied or unsure about how to proceed. You want to kind of, it's another one of those areas where the fundamentals are very important.
And because we're going to be in these situations less often, like I feel like players, you get really good at understanding what should I open, right? You get pretty good at understanding what should I see bet. But the farther you stray away from that, and the more you get into these marginal spots that you've never seen before, you've never been in before, that's where being able to turn back on some of these heuristics, some of these betting patterns, some of these things that you can sort of rely on becomes really helpful in sort of evaluating those late street decisions. And so that's why I think this is a valuable practice to look at.
Mm.
Yeah, I think if you could distill it down and you knew how much a decision, making the proper decision was worth, then you could multiply that by how often that decision comes up, and you'd basically have the perfect priority scale
Nice.
of, doing or of learning. And, you should learn the things that are going to get you the most money first. And so it's really easy to see that things that happen all the time are going to make you money, but also the things on the later streets where a lot of money is involved because of the geometric growth that no limit poker tends to have. The later streets are just always worth more money than the previous streets.
Yep, for sure. For sure.
So just to bring our audience behind the curtain a little bit. So every month we record next month's seminar actually right after this edition of the podcast. So this right now we're going over last month's seminar. Once we wrap this up, we're going to go into another Zoom meeting and we'll record April's seminar, which is turns and rivers. So it's too late to send in example hands for turns and rivers, but the May seminar is going to be all about identifying leaks. And so here's what I'd love for everybody to do. If you're a premium member at Rec.Poker, go over onto the left of the screen of the website there, and you can see a red bar. Click on groups. And if you like the focus, go join the group, the focus. If you like the seminar, go join the group, the seminar. If you like the book study, go join the group, the book study. There's a bunch of groups over there. Join the ones you're interested in. And what that's going to do is it's going to unlock a hidden forum for you, some other hidden spaces where we can all upload documents and share our data and learn together. So what I'd love for anyone who's interested in getting more involved in the seminars or in the learning that Chris is bringing to the table here every month, the May seminar is identifying leaks. So if you have any thoughts on identifying leaks, questions, answers, tools, anecdotes, then just post that in the forum under monthly seminar. And you can even join us for the recording. It's on the fourth Monday of every month at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. And premium members are welcome to come join, hang out with us for the 3+ hours that we take to record that bad boy every month. And it's been great. And then, of course, I also run a study group later in the month on Saturday. And every Saturday we have a different kind of study group. We run one just for the seminar. And actually, we had a great time just last week using some of the examples, Chris, that you mentioned. Keith Brandt, who's one of our great premium members, we talked a lot about sort of what makes betting lines common or uncommon. We talked about how the flow of the game gets interrupted by uncommon betting lines. And we used a couple examples of his where he ended up trying to decide whether to lead on the turn or on the river with a value hand. And the subject that the example that you used in the seminar was really, really helpful for us to figure out, like, how are we actually, is there a better line here? And it turns out, like, I think there is. So that was a really good example of how to get your head around that. So, and I guess the other way you could share some examples would be to email Chris at rec.poker. So do that all the time. Send him like 30 emails a day. He would love that.
Yeah, but actually, I mean, I am really excited. I think so we are going to sort of like, I think the seminars kind of go in these sort of patterns. And right now we're really talking about late street poker, but we're going to start to shift and dip our toe into sort of like some of this sort of like overall player analysis, data analysis, might dip our toes into solver work, kind of like trying to figure out approaches for how we can sort of look for ways to improve our own game, look for the ways in which maybe those areas where we're not quite sure where we're making mistakes or not. And I would, I'd love to start to hear from people about ways in which they've either identified their leaks or ways in which they're looking for tips on that too. I think it could help us sort of build this seminar for that May month. So
Nice, man. And also, if you have any tips on finding leaks in other people too, like that's all
Mhm.
part of it, is finding leaks.
Yep.
How do you find problems, whether it's in you and other people, and fix them in you and exploit them in other people? So
Yep.
that'll
Yep.
be really fun. I'm looking forward to that. All right, well, let's see if Jonathan Little has anything interesting to say about Ace King and how to play it, and then we'll get right back in here.
Wondered whether you should call a preflop raise or 3-bet instead? What do you do when you have a flush draw? Do you raise it or do you just call? What do you do with Ace King when you miss the flop? Are you tired of guessing about what the right play is with your particular hand? Well, my name is Jonathan Little, and I am a 2-time World Poker Tour champion and creator of PokerCoaching.com, where we offer over 1,000 interactive hand quizzes where you play a hand and then get real-time feedback from our world-class pros. Don't guess and don't stress. Just register for your free account at PokerCoaching.com/recpoker right now.
There you go. Lots of good stuff at PokerCoaching.com. I will attest to that. And Jonathan Little's so generous with his time. He puts out a bunch of free stuff on Twitter too, so you should go check him out and get better at poker through osmosis. Why not? So what do you think? Should we attempt to let John get through the home game thing without cutting him off? I'm just not going to say a word. If John
What?
wants to, Steve's not here, should we take it easy on the poor guy?
Oh man, I don't know. Yeah, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Okay. I'll go ahead and get started. I'm sure there's nothing that is going to come and interrupt me right now that people might be waiting for.
Do you have any music to play, Jim?
We should play.
Yeah,
we should play like
can we just
the
play-
Price is
play 'em
Right
off
or
a little?
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so on the daily series, I'm waiting for this interruption.
Yeah,
here.
this is the real torture. This is the real torture, is the anticipation. Right?
Yeah. Okay. March 15th, Poker Geek MN, John Somsky got his first daily series victory of the year.
What?
Whoa!
How many players were there? This can't have actually.
I don't know. I think like 2 people showed up for
Yeah,
that.
that must have been there must have been something wrong with the system or something.
Well, it's clear that this is the exception that proves the rule that the tournaments are the toughest.
No, congrats,
yeah,
That's
way to
awesome.
go.
It's
Nicely
getting
done.
harder and harder to win
It
these
sure
things, so
is.
congrats.
Oh man.
And Uncle Tom's Cabin, Jeff S. got his second daily standard series victory of the year. GF Hawk Eric Romo got his first daily series standard victory of the year. Carl 0621, Carl Anderson, got his first for the year. Corn Dog Chats Adam Kuhn also got his first daily standard series victory for the year.
Nice.
Keck Geek Mark Keck, and I think that's the
the
senior
OG,
Keck, not the junior Keck.
That's the OG. Nicely done,
He
Mark.
got his second daily series standard victory for the year. And then my booty, that's the screen name. I'm not referring to my own body parts here. Won the daily mixed series event.
I like it better in the spreadsheet here. It says my booty, and then it says private, and I just think that's appropriate. That makes sense. Your booty can be private, John Somsky, but as long as it's winning trophy tournaments.
Okay, so we're getting some live chat updates. This is a female and it's a friend of someone. However, because they have not made their information private, I'm not going to say it on the podcast. If they would like to, they can go into their profile, and for their future wins, this will be announced publicly, but totally up to them.
Yeah, good call, John. As friendly as we are here, we don't want to put anyone's private information out there that they haven't officially signed off on. So thanks, Kim. That's a good one, but we'll keep it down for now. My booty. I don't. Based on what you've just told me, I don't think it's the last time we're going to see my booty in the winner's circle. So we'll have a chance to rectify that again soon.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true. Chad McVean got his first international.
Wiener,
Oh, wow.
beautiful.
And then KB, Doug Behrens got
Right
his
on.
first international series daily victory. And
Nicely done, Doug.
that one, he had actually sent a note to Steve and said, I won this tournament and someone else was getting credit for it. I had accidentally reposted the results from the previous week's tournament, but that has been corrected.
There you
That
go.
was not directly aimed at you, Doug. I would was not purposeful.
And Doug,
And then-
Steve told me he actually slashed John's entire discretionary budget for the entire month as a way of making him feel the pain for that. Sorry, John. That's it. No more expense account.
That's fair.
I'm surprised you weren't just announcing the March 15th winner every week, every day for the past.
Yeah. And on March 15th, no, but on 21st, we had the very first Learn Pro Poker event that Ryan LaPlante actually played. So if you play a Learn Pro Poker Sunday event, that's Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central Time, the winner will get a free month of Learn Pro Poker, and whoever knocks out, so you get that whether Ryan plays or not, but whoever knocks out Ryan also gets a free week of Learn Pro Poker. Now I don't track who knocks Ryan out, so he'll track that, and then you'll have to contact him or Kale Cleaton for the wins on that. I do know who the winners are. However, this month I happen to know that it was apple of my eye, Harold Berry, that knocked out Ryan LaPlante this particular time.
How cool is that for Harold? That's great. He took Ryan LaPlante out of a poker tournament.
Yeah,
that's pretty
So
good.
And I think I mentioned everything. Was there anything I forgot?
Yeah, no, I think we're done.
I think that's it.
Wrap
That's
up.
it. Yeah, we're all done.
Yeah,
Okay, so cue that music.
That tournament just ended early, right? It just got
Yeah, no,
canceled in the middle.
I guess I do need to say the winner. The winner was none other than our fearless leader, Rec Poker Steve Friendlin, getting his very first LPP series win.
Nicely done.
And then I think I kept on waiting for the interruption. I thought you had planned it. But weren't you going to have a giveaway right after?
There you go. That's it, John. Right on cue, buddy. Ever the consummate professional. Yes, that's exactly right. So, as John mentioned, Ryan LaPlante doesn't play every week, but he plays often. And when he plays, if you take him out, you will win a free month at LPP, and there's instructions on how to claim that in the results post at rec.poker. So go and check that out, or you can email me, Jim at rec.poker. And the winner every Sunday also gets a free month at Learn Pro Poker. The winner this week was Steve Fredland, and because Steve is just such a good guy, he said to me, Jim, take that free month at LPP, roll your nerdy little die, and give it to one of the premium members that showed up in the podcast recording tonight. So that's what we're going to do, ladies and germs. Just another reason to get that premium membership and show up in the podcast recording because you're liable to get something for free. I get to use a boring old 6-sided die here. 6 is the reroll. Let's see what we got. 5. Stewie. Oh my God. Stew's the new Doug Drabeck. I don't know if everyone knows this, but Stewie actually won a Rec Poker sweepstakes recently and got a whole year of premium membership for free. And now he's got a whole month at Learn Pro Poker. So Stewie, we're going to be seeing you in that winner's circle a little more often. I know I mailed you a pin recently, but I think you're going to have to make room for some silver one of these days. So congrats.
So does that mean that all you have to do to get a perpetual free license to Learn Pro Poker is just win one of these tournaments every month?
One a month.
You know, that one tournament a month, that should be easy to do.
That seems pretty reasonable. You get there's 4 Sundays, sometimes 5 Sundays in a month. Yeah. And if you get in there and all you have to do is win one of those or take Ryan out, and you could be free rolling Learn Pro Poker. And, once you start taking the courses, that actually makes it just easier and easier to win every month. So, I think you might be onto something there, John.
I think so.
So Stewie, send me an email just to give me the information. I'll make sure you get hooked up with the LPP guys to get that claimed. So fantastic stuff there. Is there anything else in the home game front? I guess we should say that they're free to play in. There's
Yep.
prizes. Those aren't the only prizes. We do give out some other prizes throughout the year. There's a Player of the Year race. Obviously the pins. Yeah, and I guess speaking of pins, by the time this comes out, you've probably got a couple more days to order merchandise from the Rec.Poker shop. If the pins are free, and if you win one, it's yours. But shipping is such a pain, and we're not made of money, so we only mail out the pins if you order merch, or if you're a premium member, or if you just send us $10 to cover the cost, we'll send it out to you. But we'd much if you're going to send us $10, come on, use code RecPoker and get your first month of premium membership for $5. We'll mail you your pin. You just saved $5. Think about that. And I mean, there's a million great reasons to become a premium member at Rec.Poker. We've got, I mean, dozens of hours of learning content every week. You cannot, none of us can watch or participate in all the events that we do. There's too many events for us all to partake in. It's the best $15 a month you'll spend on poker learning and poker community. And even if you're not going to be able to take advantage of all the different stuff we're doing, it's just a great way to help support the team and to help make sure that this podcast comes out every week and that we've got time to put into the study groups and putting this material together, keep the website operating, keep website Mark happy and food on his table. So please consider just use the code RecPoker, get your first month for $5 and see, you never know. You might find something worth sticking around for. I know I'm a life nit. When I first signed up, I was like, okay, I'll give you a chance, but it better be something really exciting if you want me to fork over 10 or 15 bucks every month. And I'm just glad I did because I'm never leaving. Y'all are stuck with me now. That's it.
Another note to new players who are entering and joining the home game clubs: make sure you put your PokerStars username in the PokerStars username field. We've had a few people sign up recently who have set that as their alias, but didn't actually put it in the PokerStars username. I have gone in and magically corrected that for you, but it would be nice to not have to do that. And I have this automated so I know who it can be approved and who can't be approved. So it has to be exactly your PokerStars username in the PokerStars username field. And you have to click on the extra tab. Unfortunately, it's not on the very first page of sign up info. So there's another little click in there, but be sure you do it and then you'll be seamlessly added and you can join and play us and win your free subscription to Learn Pro Poker for the month.
It's a pretty good racket you got set up there, John.
Yeah.
I love it.
I give stuff away.
Yeah, that's right. That is nice.
You know how I make money on it? Volume.
That's why he's the friendliest guy in poker, folks. The friendliest guy in poker. So we'll just hit a couple quick notes on our way out of here. If you're listening to this on the Tuesday that it comes out, on Wednesday, we're doing on Wednesday night, we're doing our public discussion on the 5th Wednesday of every night. You don't need to be a premium member to go to rec.poker/events, and everyone can go to that page, go look at Wednesday the 31st. There's a public discussion scheduled for 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at one of the final tables earlier in the year of our Tournament of Champions. This is normally something we do at the end of each month as part of our online review and hang. It used to be the Strat Chat, but it's really an ORA. And we had an extra one this month, so we're going to do this one for free for public. So if anybody, you don't have to be a premium member, you don't even have to be a community member, but I mean, it'd be nuts not to be. Go to rec.poker, click on that public discussions event for Wednesday night, and just come and hang out with us as we review the play from the final table of our Tournament of Champions. It'll be a lot of fun. I think normally we watch the video of the table, but this time we've actually got a few of the participants have sent me their poker tracker hands from that final table. And so we're actually going to try reviewing it in Poker Tracker so that we can see multiple cards up all at the same time, and get some fun insights into how some of the hands were played, being able to see whole cards. So that's really exciting. And the only other one is on Saturday, April 3rd, we'll be having our next study group on the focus. So every month, Chris leads this independent study group where we talk about pre-flop ranges or ranging post-flop or tools that you might use to do that. This last month, basically, Chris just went on a little Q&A demo with Flopzilla, and we talked about the ways that you can use it to range opponents through various decision points, which was awesome. So that focus episode is out. You can watch the video now. And if you want to join me on Saturday, we'll do some follow-up on that. And that's something that's going to happen every month. So that'll be a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy. And I hope you also enjoyed just this past week, the Marek Madness Finals, speaking of Learn Pro Poker, where Ryan LaPlante joined me in the booth. I can't get into who won or lost yet because I don't know, because we're recording this before it happened, but this is coming out after it did. But let me just say that the over-under on gaffes in the booth, 2.5. I feel pretty good. Like
That's
obvious
a fair
gaffes.
line.
Yeah, obvious
Pretty
gaffes.
fair line.
You guys aren't going to know about the gaffes that I cover well enough.
Huh.
Yeah. So think about that.
I mean, that's heavily weighted to one side of the commentary booth, right?
Yeah, and hopefully it won't be the one doing most of the talking. Well, I'm really, really looking forward to that. All right. Well, is there anything else that
I got the over.
Yeah, smart money. Smart money takes the over. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us this week. Thanks to Steve Fredlin for putting this together, even when he's chipping away in the salt mines. Thanks to Doug, Elizabeth, Kim, Stewie, and Martha for hanging out in the chat. Thanks to Website AMP and Learn Pro Poker. Thanks to Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. Chris Jones, John Somsky, all our wonderful members. Thank you all so much. See you next week.